G'day you good motherfuckers, the Buttsman here, and I've got a hypothetical question for you. Let's imagine an amazing company that only really hires women. Okay, let's completely make up the name, let's call it BuzzFed or something. Now let's pretend that I walk into BuzzFed and I buy it with my amazing merch sales. And when I walk in there, I sit everybody down and the stench of vagina is palpable. And I say there are way too many chicks here. I need to start firing chicks because they've got vaginas. Anyone with a vagina, you're fucking out of here. I'm making an executive decision to get rid of all these women and bring in some men because we need some cock and balls in these halls. Could you imagine that going down well? Could you imagine the collective aneurysms that blue check marks would have on Twitter? And rightfully so. You should never be fired from your job because of something you were born with. That's ridiculous, particularly your sexual organs. If you were born with a big cock on your head, then maybe you should be fired. But if it's just your sexual organs, that has nothing to do with the job that you can complete. Horrible discrimination, disgusting, despicable shit. But what if the reverse happened? What if a lady walked into a male-dominated business and said, hey, you over there with the white skin and the cock and balls, you gotta go. My first thought was that's fair because we all know that white men are worse than Hitler. So what happened when it actually happened in real life to white men? The answer is no one cared. And I thought to myself when someone sent me the story that barely got covered in the news, hey, I'm a white dude and I prefer not to get discriminated against because of my cock and balls and white skin. And the idea for this video was born. Two white male creative directors at a top London advertising agency have won a sex discrimination claim against a female director who vowed to obliterate its Mad Men reputation of being full of straight white men. First off, Mad Men, great show, highly recommend. I've watched it twice, all the way through. Secondly, having different sexes and experiences and religions and colors and all that type of stuff in any business, particularly a creative industry, is wonderful and it would help with the business's success. But should you go into work one day and fire people if they have a cock? No. The men were dismissed in November 2018, shortly after the firm revealed a medium gender pay gap of 44.7%. The London Central Tribunal heard that the pay gap report had sent shockwaves. Is everyone all right? Stay with me. Shockwaves through the firm as it highlighted a serious lack of female representation. So there were two dudes in their 50s that had been at the top of their game for a long time and they got sacked just after a promotion because of their cock and skin color. All to improve a wage gap that doesn't exist. Come on, ladies, you can do better. Thankfully, these two guys took it to court and won the case on the grounds of discrimination. And the pay gap still stands. Go us. And it made me think, are there any other cases like this? Is this reverse sexism? And will it have the same reaction from people when I call it reverse sexism to when I called something reverse racism? When I did that, I was automatically labelled a racist, which is interesting. So now I'll be labelled a sexist. But let's be honest, ladies and gentlemen, I was labelled that a long time ago. Fucking here we are. Call me whatever you want, but it does not stop me from being right.
If you hate me for pointing this out to you, I assure you it's for the same reason that you hate your father.
Sexism against women in the Western world is more often than not defeated. It has been defeated. And I know a lot of people may disagree, but right now in history, there has never been a better time to be a woman. And that's great. It's so popular, in fact, lots of men are trying to become women. Second and third world countries are still living in the dark ages, but that doesn't really attract many hardcore feminists because that's too hard. But for the Western world, sexism against men or reverse sexism is rapidly rising for some reason. Well, Isaac, if you think reverse sexism is such a problem, why don't you give me some examples, dickhead? Homelessness. It's majority men. Women get help off the street quicker than men do. Dangerous jobs. They're all men doing these dangerous jobs. That's a little bit sexist. Quick little side note, you always see feminists complaining about female representation in high-paying jobs, but never like garbage men. How about divorce? In only 10% of cases does the male get custody of the children. What about jobs? Have you ever been looking on Seek or whatever fucking job site you use and you find a job that you think you might be good at, but only to find one of the prerequisites is being a woman? That seems a little sexist. No men here. Must be too many cocks there. Now these jobs aren't bras and things or a female only gym. That makes sense. These are truck driving positions or the fucking Air Force. What the fuck are you people doing? Or what about this one? For people who identify as women. Well, fuck, I really want that job. I guess I'm a Sheila for the rest of the afternoon. What about if you replaced female in all of those with white? People would lose their fucking minds, and rightfully so. Discrimination is discrimination. Perhaps the best case of reverse sexism that I know of, or the most explosive evidence, is how hated men are on mainstream TV, radio, print media, everywhere. Men are the enemy. At uni, in schools, in the workplace, men are bad. If you listen to some of the things that are being taught, you would think that 50% of the population, men, are inherently evil. This idea that's pushed onto young men, and particularly young boys, that all men are rapists, all men are violent people, all men are bad to their wives, toxic masculinity, the wage gap, male privilege, men, bad, bad, bad. As if that's not a sexist belief system to be a part of. When I typed reverse sexism into YouTube, this was the first video came up and I found it hilarious.
Honestly, I think over the course of my life, I have developed something of a prejudice against men.
That sentence, this whole quote right here from whoever this bird is, rock solid proof that reverse sexism is a thing. How do I know this? Because if I made a video that said it would be fair to say, I really don't like women, it would be taken down fucking immediately. So therefore, it's fucking sexist, all right?
I think it's 100% fair to say that I have a prejudice against men. But it isn't fair to say that that's sexism.
The great thing about the internet is everyone has a voice. Unfortunately, this woman has a voice and it's fucking painful.
It's very common to hear us say things like, ugh, men are the worst, but you know what? That's still not sexism. And no, it's not even reverse sexism, because, sorry, but that's not a thing.
Sorry, gents, you all fucking suck. Don't shoot the messenger, you're all pieces of shit. But the question might be, to this young adult, what is the dictionary definition of sexism?
What sexism really is a form of oppression, and I just think that systemic oppression is way too complicated to be able to ever be reduced into a one-line definition. Plus, dictionaries always going to represent dominating ideologies because they're largely written by the people who are going to benefit from the oppressions that they get to define.
We can't rely on dictionary definitions because they were written by men, and you can't rely on men because they're sexist, and sexist is the thing that at this point in time we can't define. Okay, men never talk up about this shit because they will be ridiculed, they'll be seen as weak. But sometimes when you're discriminated against because of your gender, you should probably say something. At the end of the day, after writing this video, here was my diagnosis. Reverse sexism is not a thing. It's just sexism. And sexism should never exist. If you're sexist towards women, you're a piece of shit. If you're sexist towards men, you're a piece of shit. To trans people, you're a piece of shit. Don't be a piece of shit. Two wrongs don't make a right. And shut the fuck up and head over to Buttsman Premium, ladies and gentlemen. There's plenty of exclusive content there and an exclusive podcast. It'll be fantastic to see you there. And I'm going to do some FaceTime calls straight after this video to catch up with some of the members that are on Buttsman Premium. The link is down below. Be a good motherfucker. Don't be a piece of shit. Peace of the Middle East. Big stings to love. Well, bye-bye.